Hello, welcome to.
Looking at the angles. Firstly, what is an angle? An angle is a figure formed by two non-collinear rays that have a common endpoint. As shown in the model, the angle can be named in four different forms: DEF, FED, E, and 2. An angle has a side that is the two rays that make up the angle, and its vertex is the common endpoint. Angles are in different types. We have the most common angles that are the acute angle, the obtuse angle, and the right angle, the straight angle, and the reflex angle. Also, there's an angle that is the complete angle, that is the whole, like the whole place. It is taken up, and the angles have different measures. Firstly, we start the right angle. It is a 90-degree angle measure. The angles, let's remember that they can be measured with a degree unit that is used as a small zero on top of the number. Then the acute angle is less than 90. The obtuse angle is more than 90. The straight angle is 180 degrees. It's like a straight line. The reflex angle is more than 180 degrees and less than 360 degrees. And the complete angle is 360 degrees. Now, to know the angle, we need to measure to get its and how much it measures with the degrees. To measure an angle, we use a protractor. It's a device that has at the middle of it, it's a 90 degree, and then it gets to the point where it begins in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and goes up to 170 and finishes in 180. And then on the other side, it gets to 180, but it's the opposite side, the opposite. So to use it to measure the angle, we need to place it. Most of the time it has like a dot where you can place the vertex at the angle, and then you can see where the line of the angle intersects the protractor. That is the way the angle can be measured. And where is it the angle? The number that it indicates is the measure of the angle in degrees. So, as shown in the video, we can see that we have a protractor there. Now, we'll be looking at some exercises for you to look at how to measure it and see if you understand it. Now, we will show you the types of the angles and the answers for you to see if you were correct, and if you don't got it correct, it's okay. And you can check again the explanation, and you can do this again once you finish the video. Firstly, we're gonna give you some time to do the exercises. Then we're gonna check them. Now we're going to check the angles. The first angle, after measuring it with a protractor, we can know it's an acute angle because it measures 47 degrees. The next exercise, number 2, it is an obtuse angle. It measures 130 degrees. Because it measures more than 90 degrees, we can know that it's an obtuse angle.
The third one is an acute angle because it measures 10 degrees, that is less than 90 degrees.
The angle number 4, it measures 73 degrees. That's why it is an obtuse an acute angle. Because it measures less than 90, 73 degrees. Number 5 measures 65 degrees, and it's because it's less than 90, it is an acute angle. Finally, the sixth one. It measures 115 degrees. Because it is greater than 90, it's an obtuse angle. We have finished the exercises, so now we're gonna be looking at other types of lines that can make up angles. Firstly, we'll be looking at the adjacent angles and the linear pairs of angles. Adjacent angles is the angles that share a common side and have the same vertex but have no interior points in common. For the adjacent angles, we need to remember that they have to have a common side always, but no interior points. So if the angles are like looking separated or they are not together or have a same line in common, then they are not adjacent angles. Now, what are linear pairs? A linear pair is two angles form a linear pair if and only if they are adjacent and their non-common sides are opposite rays. So a linear pair is basically a line, a straight line that it's separated by one ray, and that ray makes two adjacent angles. We need to also remember that if two angles form a linear pair, if the line has a line that is like is shown in the video, is like a line there, it's pointing like it starts from the vertex and it points there, that those two angles are supplementary angles. We'll see those angles later in the video, but those angles, like if they are together apart from the linear pair to form adjacent angles, it forms supplementary angles. After looking at these angles and these lines, now we're going to see the complementary and supplementary angles. Firstly, the complementary. The complementary are two angles that their sum of their degree measures is 90 degrees. We need to remember that in these angles, it's not obligatory for them to be together. They can be separated or not have like a sides in common. It's just that these angles, their degree measure 90 degrees. 90. These angles are mostly found on the right angle that is being intersected with a line. Now we know that the supplementary angles can be made with the 100, and they measure 180, and let's remember that they can be made with the linear pair, that is the line that has the other line on top, like starting from the vertex, and those two angles are supplementary. Now, the definition of supplementary angles are two angles are supplementary if and only if their sum of their degree measures is 180 degrees. Now, we will have a look at congruent angles. Congruent angles. The definition is two angles are congruent if and only if they have the same degree measure. So, these angles, same as complementary, they don't have to be together. They just need to have the same degree measure. Like for example, and two angles measure the model that we're showing in the video. There are other angles that are the vertical angles. The vertical angles are two angles that are vertical if and only if they are two non-adjacent angles formed by a pair of intersecting lines. These angles two of them are congruent angles because when the lines intersect, there are two equal angles that form. As the video shows, two angles are congruent but can be smaller or greater than the two other angles that are also congruent. We need to remember that if two angles are congruent, their supplements are congruent. We also need to remember that if they are congruent, their complements are congruent. This happens with the supplementary and the complementary angles. We also need to look that if two angles are congruent, then they are supplementary. Each angle measures 90 degrees. When they join together, when their degree measures add, it becomes a 180-degree angle. So those angles are congruent and supplementary. Continuing with perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines are lines that intersect to form a right angle. Normally, they form 4 right angles. For the perpendicular lines, there's a symbol that looks like a T, but it's not like well positioned. It's like it shows on the video. All the angles measure 90 because they are all right angles. There can be an algebraic way to find complementary and supplementary angles for an angle that is given to you. Firstly, to the supplementary angles, we know that the angles measure 180 degrees. So we're gonna put the algebraic expression. These algebraic expressions will be shown in the video. With the complementary is the same, so we're gonna put our 90 as a result because the complementary angles make up 90 degrees when they are added. As same as with the supplementary, we're gonna put our 180 degrees as a result. Now that in the algebraic expression we found the two angles or one angle, now that we have found their degree measures, we can know that they are or complementary or supplementary. Now knowing all this, we can assume that you can know how to do the angles, how to measure them, and how to know them well. Thank you for watching the video. This was made from Maffer, Gomez Saavedra, and Marifer Aguilar Chavez. Thank you for watching. Hope you understood something.